Hi, you guys. My name is Miriam Kant. Today we'll be talking about domestic violence through the lens of African and African American women. I really want you guys to take the time and look at the photos in front of you. Different women, different walks of life, different careers, different culture. But I really want you guys to really ask yourself, what does each of these women share alike? The truth of the matter is, they all share abuse. Different forms of abuse, but yet each of them have experienced some sort of pain. This goes to show you that abuse does not come with one set look, one set face, one set culture, or there's no one definition for abuse. Each of these women have been abused by a partner. I really wanted to get into what intimate partner violence was before I dug deep into intimate partners violence through just a racial lens. First and foremost, intimate partner violence is a violence or aggression that occurs in a close relationship. The term intimate partner includes current, former spouses, or dating partners. IPV includes different types of behavior, such as physical, emotional, verbal, sexual. According to statisticsbrain.com, 2 million women are assaulted by men each year. Over 43 women and 38 men experience psychological aggression by an intimate partner in their lifetime. About 1 in 4 women and nearly 1 in 10 men have experienced sexual violence, physical violence, and or stalking by an intimate partner during their lifetime and reported some form of IPV related impacts. Approximately 41% of female IPV survivors and 14% of male IPV survivors experience some form of physical injury related to the experience of relationship violence. According to U.S. crime reports, suggests that 16%, about 1 in 6, of homicide victims are killed by intimate partners, and that nearly half of female homicide victims in the U.S. are killed by current or former male intimate partner. Having a racial lens to understand IPV is very important as well, because one must understand that each race is affected differently because of where they come from. First and foremost, we must understand the dilemma African American women face. African American women have disproportionately experienced violence at home, school, or work. African American women face high rates in intimate partner violence, rape, and homicide. African American women also experience institutionalized racism. They are disproportionately punished in school, targeted by the criminal justice system after surviving physical or sexual abuse. Black African men rank the top in the highest percentage of individual, 3.8 to be exact, who thought that it was acceptable for a man to hit a woman. Let's rephrase that again. Black African men rank the top who believed it was acceptable for a man to hit a woman. 73% to 90% of women and 57% to 70% of men in Uganda believe IPV is justified. More than 4 in 10 African American women experience physical abuse from an intimate partner during their lifetime. White women, Latinas, and Asian Pacific Islanders women report lower rates. An estimated 29.1% of African American females are victimized by IPV violence in their lifetime, rape, physical assault, or stalking. African American females experience intimate partner violence at a rate of 35% higher than. I decided to call this slide cultural bondage because I felt you're bonded to something. Cultural bondage because you're stuck. Stuck in a situation which doesn't feel right, hurts, but is defined by culture as right and acceptable. So you're in this very conflicting situation where you know it's wrong, it feels wrong, it hurts you, it breaks you down, but you're stuck because you're in this culture. And why is that? Shame. According to the Women of Color statistics, abused African American women come from 70% of religious affiliation. Religious conviction and a fear of shame or rejection from the church may contribute to the remaining in an abusive relationship. Another point, financial abuse. According to Allstate Foundation Purple Purse, by blocking or controlling access to financial asset, abusers can trap their victims into staying with them or coming back if they try to leave, locking them into a cycle of abuse. This ties in to the lack of education. Lack of financial knowledge or resources is the number one indicator of whether a domestic violence victim will stay, leave, or return to an abusive relationship. Mental breakdown. In many Stripping away a woman of their confidence and freedom is justified by cultural beliefs. The good wife slash partner. A good wife is defined by how obedient and acceptance of all infliction given to her by her husband. Children. My favorite one. My favorite one. Abuse for the sake of children is worth it. Having the belief as to the more abuse the woman endures, the more successful her child will become. I wish there was more research on this and really trying to understand why. And I remember growing up, I would always hear my aunt that we're accepting this abuse because of you. We're staying in this situation because of the children. Because if we stay and we accept, guess what? You guys are going to be successful. So women are stuck in these situations for years and years until they are broken and unfixable because the culture tells them accept the abuse and your child is guaranteed to become successful. Growing up, and I know a lot of people can resonate this even without a racial lens, we always try to ask ourselves why. Why stay? Why? You can just leave. It sounds easy. It's easier said than done. There's so many barriers people who experience IPV experience. One, lack of knowledge. Estimates from the VOC 2016-2017 data shows that 9% households in South Africa knows a shelter or a place of safety for victims of domestic violence. African American women suffer disproportionately from abuse, differently than any other race. Racism and sexism are two of the biggest obstacles that black women in America face. Oftentimes, an emphasis is put on racism and race, which is the bigger issue than sexism. Black women tend to feel obligated to put racial issues ahead of sexual based issues. For black women, a strong sense of culture loyalty to community and race renders many of us in silence. So stories often go untold and unreported. Mistrust in the police or the criminal justice system, coming from a marginalized group of people, the feel of surrendering your own to the treatment of a racial biased police state feels very conflicting. So we see these women, we feel like, oh, they want to stay. They're just there. They're not in pain, but there's so much that's holding them back, so many barriers that are in their way, so many conflicting thoughts. Should I go? Should I stay? If I go, am I going to be okay? If I go, will I put my partner in violence? What am I getting myself into? So it's always the why that's behind so much. Is why must I go? Why am I in this? And as us, the social workers, we should really ask ourselves, why are our clients in this? What are the other factors that are keeping our clients in these situations for so long? I was very surprised in certain things, but honestly speaking, can I say that I was truly surprised? No, this is my reality. This is my life. The only thing I can say was, I wish the statistics were there. I wish the statistics weren't the lives of women daily. But the reality is, so much is missing from these statistics. So much. And then my question really was, how accurate are these statistics? Because remember, so much goes unreported. So much is silenced because of culture, because of fear, because of lack of education, lack of support. And really, the main thing that surprised me was Africa. If you notice, my title was African American in Africa, African woman. But most of my research in this PowerPoint really focused on African American. That's because the research on African women just wasn't there. Africa has a total of 54 countries, yet research lacks in how domestic violence affects women. And believe me, as a descendant from Guinea and Ivory Coast, domestic violence is there. It's all around us. It's there. It's in the air. Kenya, South Africa, and I'll throw in there Uganda were amongst the only countries in Africa which had statistics. Technically meaning those are the only countries who had reports, who had research. Why is there not research happening in these countries? And it goes back to say the code of silence. We've been silenced. There's fear coming from a male-dominated society, a patriarchal society that believes male is powerful, male is in control. Is fearful of when will this research really ever happen? How much help can we really do? And that's my conflicting thing. Also, there's no national laws protecting women from violence within Shocking, every time there's UN week, I see a bunch of my African presidents in America, yet there's no national law protecting us from violence in marriages. Scary. 1 in 4 women reported their first sexual intercourse was forced, the majority by an intimate partner. This statistic came from Uganda. Still, in the 20th century, let's see how new this statistic was. 2007. In 2007, sex is still not for self-pleasure, but for the fulfillment of men. Sex is not for self-pleasure, but for the fulfillment of men. Women are put in this world, this is a cultural belief, to fill the desires of men. That's a shock, because we're in the 20th century, and yet we are still just here for men. Still abused by men. That's a surprise that this is still going on in such a evolved world. And I can say, yeah, that's a different part of the country, but it's still scary that even within America, sex is not for self-pleasure. That is something for your partner, not for yourself. So what can we do to help? I just want you to know that as a social worker, this may be a far-fetched, one day a black woman or an African woman will walk into your office, look at you, and walk back out. And I really want you to know that we don't ask for help because we have internalized this idea that we need to be strong. This idea of a strong black woman is a reward. It's something that can even be a source of resilience for us. But it can also leave us feeling like we have no one to turn to. So when that black woman comes into your office and walks back out, I want you to know that she's crying out for help. We've internalized stereotypes about the appropriate response to violence, which has left us to feel like fighting against our abuser is something that doesn't sit well. And the funny part is, when you see that black woman, know that when she do stand up, she's labeled as the angry black woman. We fought, we've been punished professionally and personally because for some reason we're not seen as victims. We are invisible to the system. Our safety seeking or our ability for justice is invisible. It's non-existent. And the future lies within us, the future social workers. For so long, it's been reinforced that violence, in fact, is the woman's fault. This does not just stop at black women or African women. This is across every IPV victim. This could be anybody. Victim has no face. Domestic violence is a serious case that many do not understand or take serious. It is important to be aware of the potential warning signs of abuse, to offer unconditional support as victims, as supporters of victims. Abuse can be broken down into several subcategories. I don't want you to feel like you have to physically see the wounds. Physical abuse includes any physical behavior that is violent towards another person. If a push is not abuse to you, a push can be abuse to me. Sexual abuse can occur even within marital status. Don't ever say because you are married you cannot be raped. A man can rape his wife. Verbal or psychological abuse can leave one feeling unworthy. Words are powerful. I remember growing up, we used to always say, "Stick and stone can break my bones, but words don't hurt me." I don't really believe that. That was just a way to go forward in the day. But sticks and stones can break my bones, but words do hurt. In the end, each of and every abuse leaves the victim broken. Broken and sometimes unfixable. Say no to abuse. This could be your mother, it could be your sister, it could be your aunt, it could be your future wife. We have the power to make changes, to get into these places, make policies, advocate for the woman. There is no face to abuse, the same way that there is no definition to abuse. Let us give power to a person's narrative. They are in control of their story. It is their story. Let's not take away from their story.